There we go. I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation. So, Teresa, if you'd come forward and lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, I ask you to bless our commissioners with favor and grace, wisdom and insight. Lead and guide them in the way they should go to make Clay County, Missouri a great place to live, learn, work, and play. Strengthen them as they lead with vision and virtue. I thank you for your provisions and protections. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte? Here. Commissioner Withington? Yes. Commissioner Lawson?
Here.
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
That brings us to approval of this evening's agenda. Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Next item on our agenda are public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the commission on any subjects that are of interest to them? Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Mr. Administrator.
Yes. Good evening. The consent agenda allows the commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may include items that have been reviewed by the commission in prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless the commissioner chooses a request for the item to be removed from the agenda. Tonight we have 4 items for consent agenda. The first one is 2025-241, approval of invoice payments for Clay County from the period of August 9th through August 15th. 380 invoices with the amount of $1,091,322.37. The next one is a 2025-211 is approval of outside employment agreement with deputy sheriffs between Clay County, Missouri and the city of Mosby. The next one is 2025-245, a similar agreement, outside employment agreement with Deputy Sheriff's Department between Clay County and the city of Glen Eyre. And then the last one is a 2025-243, approval of grant application, fiscal year 25 emergency management and performance grant sheriff. It's a 50-50 grant that has been seen before by this commission. I ask that all 4 items be moved with the consent agenda.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
A motion has been made for this evening's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Excuse me, that brings us to this evening's regular agenda. The first item is 2025-242. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2025-242 is approval of invoice payments for Clay County Prosecutor's Office for the period of August 9th through August 15th for accounts payable. We have 4 invoices in a totaling amount of $514.69.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2025-242.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2025-242. Discussion. Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 5 in favor, 1 recusal.
The next and final agenda item on our regular agenda is 2025-244. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, we have 2025-244, approval of memorandum of agreement among the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Missouri Historic Preservation Officer with the Clay County Commission. We have Tom Degenhart, our Road and Bridge Director, to expand more on the request.
Mr. Director, go right ahead. I'm sorry, Commissioner Withington? When they're done. Okay, great. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good evening. Tom Degenhart, Road and Bridge Director. Resolution 2025-244 is for the approval of a three-party memorandum of agreement between Clay County, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and Missouri Historical Preservation Officer for the removal and replacement of the northeast 172nd Street Bridge over the Muddy Fork Creek. The replacement bridge is part of an ARPA project that was approved by Resolution 2024-02 on January 4th of 2024. A few highlights of the bridge. It's on the Federal Registry. It was built in 1919. It's a two-span concrete arch, reinforced concrete deck, 103 feet long, a narrow 17.5 feet wide roadway, 15-ton weight limit, sufficiency rating of 32.6, and it's a 5.92 mile detour route. I might note that sometimes historical bridges, they sometimes have the option to remove those somewhere, but since this is a concrete arch, it can't be relocated. And this slide is for Commissioner Wagner. I know last time I had a bridge, we talked about the detour route. So the detour route for this is basically 172nd Street to Ragsdale Road, to Jesse James Farm Road, Bishop Road, and back to 172nd. Unfortunately, there's a closer detour route, but it involves going up to 178th Street up of Bishop Road and I think it's BB Highway, but that road is closed. We closed that bridge earlier this season, 178th Street, so the detour route is a little further, unfortunately. There are residents to the east side of the bridge, but not to the west, so it shouldn't have much of an impact. And then, of course, we will sign this bridge with appropriate closure prior to closing the bridge, letting the public know. Just a few highlights of the MOA. We'll be required to photo archive the bridge and label them. Our design professional will do that for us. Once we start construction, if we come across any artifacts, we'll have to notify the appropriate Indian tribes about any kind of cultural founds, and then we'll halt construction when artifacts are discovered. And with that, that's kind of in brief what the agreement is. I think it's all in your packet, but if you have any specifics, I'd be glad to answer them.
Commissioner Withington.
So when this came up before us, this was brought up, I'm trying to think, it was 2 years ago, because I had just come on the commission. And at that time, I said that I didn't want to get rid of this bridge if it was historic, that I would like to see us find a way to preserve it as like a trail or something like that. Did you guys not look into that?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the history on that, so I do not know.
Do you know, Damon, if that was looked at?
I do not. I know.
Is there any way that can be looked at?
I can ask our previous
because
staff.
I remember because this came up, and I want to say it was 2 years ago, when we were talking about ARPA projects, and I mentioned that, it'd be nice if we could find a way to keep the bridge, since it's historic, maybe put a trail next to it or something, and then put the bridge next to it. So if you could look at that.
Okay. The only thing, we have final construction drawings, and this is an ARPA project, so the contractor's ready to go. I mean, we could probably reuse that same design off the alignment, but it would take some modification. It would take a right-of-way and additional easement. So being an ARPA project, I'm not sure we would have time to modify that.
Okay.
But
Well,
unfortunately,
I don't want to vote in favor of this because I brought that up, and I thought Diana was going to put that on the list to look at, and I'm kind of disappointed she didn't. So, all right, thank you.
I know in my discussions with Diana and the previous administrator, that was never mentioned to me, so I didn't see anything in the file, but I'll certainly take a second look and
Yeah, I mean,
reach out.
you can go. We can find the YouTube video, and it's
Okay.
on the discussion's on the YouTube
Okay.
video. So.
Okay.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2025-244.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2025-244. Any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson? Yes. Commissioner Withington?
No.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
That completes this evening's regular agenda. Next on the item are discussion items. There is one item under that heading. Mr. Administrator, if you would like to go ahead and introduce that, then I will recognize Commissioner Withington to open the discussion. So please
Yeah.
proceed.
Yes, we have a discussion item, discussion of hiring a Director of Economic Development. Commissioner Whittington emailed probably about a month or so ago regarding this and asked for it to be as a discussion item for the commission to review and make a determination of whether or not this should be added in the upcoming budget. And I'll move it back from there.
Commissioner Withington, proceed.
Yeah, sorry for missing last week and having to reschedule this. It was my kids' back to school night, and kids take priority over you guys. So, but as much as we like having Jason Davies here, it's great to have the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Graham back with us. So, all right. But hey, so I asked Damon to put this on there as a discussion topic back in July. I know we're getting ready to start the budget process, and I had mentioned this to Jay and John, but you know, when you look at our county, we trail our peer counties in job growth, wage growth, and capital investment. So I just didn't know if there was any appetite for the commission to look into hiring a Director of Economic Development to try to you know, help bring some business to the county and everything. Or, you know, another idea that Damon and I had when we talked was maybe we bring in the city EDCs and have them give us a presentation on what exactly they're working on, and then maybe we can work directly with those groups to help them. So, like I said, you know, I just thought we'd bring this up for discussion, see what everybody's thoughts were since we're going through the budget process and everything, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lawson.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and I have something that bears that up very well. We talked a long time ago about going to the Google presentation and how they kind of just waved over Clay County. We were barely mentioned. So Wednesday, I went to the Meta, and quite impressed. Beautiful place, mostly on Clay County, but partially on Platte as well. When we got there, everybody was, of course, quite cordial, but as the presentation started, not once, did they mention Clay County. Nothing. They mentioned Platte. They even had the state rep from Platte speak a little bit. Several of our reps were there. They didn't even say, go to heck or anything. We were like, we weren't even there. I was so disappointed. Wonderful facility, I'm glad it's here. Going to hire a lot of people. So in the end, it will be great for Clay County as well. But the fact that we were completely out of the picture, I don't know why that was, but now 2 big facilities. And now somebody said to me, there's a Google building that's going to be across 169 on the other side of it from this that they're putting up now. And I haven't heard it. I hadn't even heard anything about it. I go down 169 all the time, but didn't know anything about it. So
That was in the news the other day.
Yeah, was it?
Port KC and the KCADC approved
Yep.
that project. So.
Yep. But the thing I worry about is the fact that I would like for us to at least be at the table, to be involved in it, and have offer some of our services, and you know, be able to accomplish something more for the citizens of Clay County. I just feel like it's getting all done, and I'm happy for it, but we're just not available. So whatever we need to do. But anyway, we can continue on.
By the way, thank you for attending that. I think, Commissioner, you and I were the only folks from the commission there, both at the Northland Chamber lunch, where they talked about the should I call it soccer? I think that's been forbidden now. We will call it the World Cup, and also the Meta thing. And I appreciate the fact that you were there and that we were able to at least be in the room. Commissioner Withington had mentioned something about possibly as a different approach would be for us to get with these municipal EDCs. I would suggest that framework already is already in place, and that would be the EDC, the Economic Development Pros, which meets through the Clay County EDC. I attend those, and I'm certain that any commissioner who would want to would be welcome to be there. So that is one of the places where we can garner that information, which is already existing, and we don't have to worry about putting another structure over something that is already in existence and is functioning. My thoughts initially on this, and even after giving it some thought, are that my general orientation, I would say, is fiscally conservative. It concerns me that we're talking about expanding government by adding another entire department. The money that we're talking about is going to be kind of substantial, and I would like to be able to get at some point what the overall ask is. I realize that the wages are on there, but the wages only cover a part of it. Clearly, when you got wages, you've got another 35–40%, which are going to take in benefits and all the rest of it. We're talking about other, material things that have to be done, and also about the sustaining of that. It's not a one-time expense that sustains over, for the most part, it's going to sustain over a number of years. And so I think that is something that we need to have some kind of a breakdown on what kind of money we are committing the county to for the foreseeable future. It is hard to contemplate this subject without revisiting the subject of the Economic Development Alliance, which was put in place by my predecessor, actually. It was not very successful. In fact, it crashed and burned. The main result of that was to cause confusion both within different economic development circles and within the business community. They didn't know who they were supposed to talk to. I would say that our best option in any case, whenever we're dealing with economic development, is to deal with as much as possible a united front to where we are all working together and we are coming up with how it is we are going to work as a team. I think that's something that businesses like to see. Something I noticed was we had, back in March, we had brought up the issue of joining the EDA, excuse me. I got the initials wrong, I'm sorry. Anyway, we had that come up and it was rejected by the group. That was an investment that was proposed to be $7,500. I think it's inside of the, which is I think an AI document here, but it does contemplate getting involved with that group. And I don't know if we're talking about now investing $25,000 or what, but it seems to me that if we have the option of back in March of being involved with that group for $7,500, and that was a bad idea, I'm not entirely sure why it's a good idea at $25,000. It doesn't really quite gel with me as far as logic goes. I realize it can be, that it can be explained, but KCADC, I'm sorry. So I think that's one of the things that jumps out at me, but at the end of the day, what businesses want are stability. They want us to work together, and they want to not have drama or conflict. I think what we need to be doing is we need to be continuing to reach out to the Clay EDC and come up with whatever agreement we come up with, but I think that we need to make sure that there is a consistency in our message, that we are open for business, and that they have a united group who will be working together to make sure that it happens for them. I've got a lot of other points, but I'm going to go ahead and back off that a little bit and let some other folks speak. I will revisit the subject, but those are a couple of the points that certainly occur to me. Commissioner Lawson?
You know, I agree with you on a point that I hate to see that money, get spent, but I got to say this, or I'll blow up. We just approved how much money? $250,000 or more to do a study on our parks. And I still believe that our Parks Department should have been able to say, here's our 5 problems. Give us the money to fix them and let's go on down the road. But we didn't. We did that. I want to know, in the last, say, 5 years, how many big new businesses have been brought into this county by our EDC? Tell me 1 of them. Tell me 2 of them. I just think that if we had someone who concentrated completely, we donated in the past, gave in the past, $100,000 to the EDC. So what's the difference if we give it to them or we give it to a person that we interact with day in, day out, you know, have some feedback? If we have to join KCADC, for that person to be able to be at the table and to be involved in potential projects and send those potential projects to somewhere further north. You know, how many go to Kearney? How many go to Excelsior? How many go to Smithville? I don't know how many big projects they've had pointed their way, but I haven't seen them. So I may not be aware of them, but I sure was aware of Meta, and that was a kick in the teeth. That, you know, we weren't even at the table in any way, shape, or form. And why weren't we? But anyway, I think that it's good to sit down with our different cities and let's talk about all of this and how they feel, what they'd like to see. You know, they may say, well, we just as soon work with the EDC, and, you know, I think we have to pull all of them because they have a very vested interest in the future of this county. And you can see that growth moving out north and, you know, all over the place. And before long, it's just going to be one big group of businesses and homes between Liberty and Kearney and Smithville. It's going to be like California. So I think that we need to be able to manage growth. We need to be able to be involved as these businesses come in. There'll be some we love. There'll be some we'd rather not have. But we need to be really working, have an entity that works for us and with all these little cities. I did go to the pros. I went to one of them.
I was about to bring that
You
up
and
because
were
I
there.
wanted to make sure that you got
Yeah,
credit for that.
yeah.
Thank you.
You and I were there. There was only one city there, and that was Excelsior Springs at that particular meeting. Now, I know they have other meetings where there's a lot more.
Yes.
But at any rate, I think we need to look at all options, not just say, let's do this right now, or let's not do it right now. I think we need to kind of investigate a little bit farther, but we do need to pull the cities into it.
I still
whatever we do.
have a problem with paying $25,000 for something we could have gotten for $7,500. That's still, I realize I may be looking at this simplistically, but that seems to me to be a government at its finest, so to speak.
Well-
I also, on your example about businesses, first off, I don't know that you can assign any particular business that's located in Clay County with any specific entity exclusively by any means. I think there are a lot of moving parts, which is what it makes it successful. But I can tell you this, that Bridget with the EDC worked endlessly on that project. She was working very hard, so I think
Yes.
that is something that the EDC, I don't think EDC would take exclusive credit for having that business located here, but I think that we can certainly assign them a good little bit of credit for maintaining and for getting us to where we are now. So I think that it would be one success story that I would point to that the EDC had a hand in. Plus, when we're talking about hiring somebody, whenever you hire somebody, it's a bit of a crapshoot, really. You hope you get the right person in. You don't know. You try your best to evaluate and bring them in. In the case of working with EDC, Bridget is a known and a positive
Absolutely.
quantity.
Absolutely.
And Mark is coming on strong. I didn't know Mark all that well before that we started down this path, but I am very, very impressed with him. So I think that we have two, and Ricky, I'm sorry, Ricky, you're back there behind Kevin. But we have an EDC team that is known for the quality of their work, and I think we should be taking advantage of that. I mean, when we're talking about the salary and the benefits and all the other expenses surrounding hiring this person in, we got to be north of $200,000, which is more than EDC ever got in the course of a year. And it is, of course, an ongoing expense. That's why I think one of the things that we have an advantage of, and I think the example of Platte County comes up all the time. their economic abilities to attract economic development, which comes largely through the city of Kansas City, as do a lot of ours. But they do not have an economic development director. In fact, when I suggested that to my counterpart, asking, well, do you guys have this kind of a post? I will express it by just saying, definitely not, was his attitude. He thought that it was not a good expenditure of their county's money. And I must say, I agree with him. And they are also not particularly engaged with their EDC, which I'm not going to criticize anyone else's county and how they conduct their business. That is theirs. I think that we would be well served to be engaging with our EDC much more closely than we have been.
Yeah, well, I'll never take anything away from Bridget, because I never go to a meeting, whether it's a chamber or whatever it is, she is there. Everybody there knows her. She is a force to be reckoned with, and I will never, ever take a thing away from her. She has increased membership out of this world. I would trust her with my grandkids. She just is tremendous in everything that she does. I have no problem with her, but I just want you to look at what we've seen in the last 5 years and tell me how involved I can't get over Google. I can't get over Meta. Why weren't we at the table? And there may be some underlying reason, but Platte County was involved. They were selling, they were singing Platte County's glory, they helped and they were so wonderful. Where were we? So I agree with you. Yes, I don't like spending the money, but I also want to see this county grow and grow the right way. And I think we at least, if nothing else, we need to really investigate it and get our partner cities involved in what decisions we make.
Well,
Because
myself, as someone who has actually had a couple of small businesses, the arithmetic is not very difficult for me. We get 3 outstanding individuals who are in this room for a lot less than we would pay for one individual here.
we'll
So I mean,
see.
the math is a little bit hard to escape. That is for just to use the previous number. So $100,000 to the EDC gets us 3 professionals who are going to be pretty much at our beck and call, as far as I can say. I don't mean to commit you guys, but you've been, I think your responsiveness, and certainly Commissioner Lawson has commented on the responsiveness, especially in the case of Bridget. So we would be getting 3 times as many people for 1/3 the money. I find it really hard to get away from that one. Further discussion. I didn't mean to go on quite so long. Commissioner, did you want to jump in?
I was just going to say, I mean, this isn't a hill I need to die on. I just want to get everybody's opinion, and see what their thoughts were. But you keep talking about $100,000 to the EDC. I think this commission's made it pretty clear we need to see changes to the bylaws before we have that conversation. And to my knowledge, those bylaws haven't been updated yet. So that's not a conversation I think this commission's looking to have.
Well, the reason I used the $100,000 figure is that was historically previously what there was. So it was mainly as a point of reference, not necessarily anything else. And I see these 2 issues as separate, that is to say the bylaws and how we proceed on economic development. So with that, Commissioner Carpenter, I believe you are next, if you would like to proceed.
Good deal, thanks. Yeah, well, first I just want to say thanks to Commissioner Withington. I think anytime we're having a discussion and talking through things, and everybody's bringing their best ideas to the table and hashing things out, I think that's good. I'm looking forward, frankly, to hearing from, all 3 of the EDC folks, all of whom I have gotten to know over the years. Most recently, had a great chat with the director, Mark. And so look forward to hearing their thoughts on all this too, and their ideas. I think we all agree that this mission of having positive growth and job creation and economic development in the county is one that we should invest in, both time and money. So there's pretty widespread agreement there. It's just a question of exactly how we want to go about doing it. And I appreciate what Commissioner Withington just said in terms of that he's not married to this exact idea of hiring a permanent person with the county, that there's value in this discussion alone, I think, as well as, mention the idea of having all the cities come and talk to us. Frankly, I think more engagement with our municipalities can only be a good thing. If they don't have time or don't want to come, obviously they can always just decline. But I think having folks in to talk about the projects they're doing. I mean, think about just Liberty right here. Those folks are right here in town. The mayor, the council, the staff at City Hall, and they've done billions and billions of dollars of really big development deals here in the city. It's really been amazing to witness over the last couple of decades, the growth that's happened here. So maybe they just want to come and talk about their projects and where they see the future going and how we can best partner with them. And they may well say the best way we can partner with them is to become a donor again to the EDC. Anyway, I just think there's a lot of value in the discussion itself. Tonight and in the future. It's not like this issue is going away anytime soon, right? Economic development has been a thing for a while. It's going to keep being a thing for a while, so let's keep talking about it. Last thing I'll say in terms of Commissioner Withington too, regardless of the specifics of how we move forward, what I know for sure is that he has a very sincere desire to see jobs brought to the county. I have heard him talk about that. I can tell he's being authentic and sincere in his goal to do that. And I think it's a noble and good goal. So obviously devil's in the details in terms of exactly what the smartest way to proceed is. I certainly am open to ongoing discussions with the EDC. I would love, among other things, to get to a place where everybody is on good terms with each other and sort of rowing in the same direction. I think if that is a conclusion we can get to, everybody wins. So that certainly is my top goal in the fulsomeness of time. Whether that's achieved tonight or not, who knows. But over time, I hope that is the ultimate outcome, is that everybody is on the same page, working together, and we're doing the bottom line thing, which is to have good growth, have good job creation here in the county, and that's what we can all hopefully agree on. So, thanks.
Well, Commissioner, if I could expand on what you just said, I think you could extend the comment that about everybody wanting to see job creation and economic expansion. I think every member on this panel is interested in that, and I think that is, if there's a premise that we start from, I think it's with that premise specifically, that we are all here with that goal in mind. I think that helps to kind of start us on common ground and then see where it is our reasoning takes us from there. The other thing that you'd mentioned, and I think it's a very good point, and that is while there is the structure of the pros, EDC pros, that should not be thought of as a be-all, end-all. I think that's a good mechanism, and I appreciate the fact that the EDC has put that together and that we should take advantage of it, but that is not to the exclusion of other efforts, which I think is an excellent point that you made. Commissioner Wagoner.
Thank you. I might start by talking a bit about what we talked about before. You alluded to some of that conversation, Commissioner, related to the $7,500 that we decided we would not spend on a KC-ADC relationship. There were two reasons that I want to focus on as to why it was said we should not do so. One was that many of our municipalities here are already involved. Kansas City, Liberty, even Gladstone, as we heard. And it was suggested that there was no reason for us to spend that money, because why would we do so when the municipalities are doing all this work in economic development? It seemed kind of duplicating some of that work. When we pointed out that there was areas in our land use plan that suggested that warehousing and industrial uses were preferred uses, we still did not want to spend that $7,500 because since some of those areas were close to municipalities, those municipalities would simply annex those areas, and therefore it was in their best interest to put it out there. So I'm a little bit puzzled with a conversation like this based on the conversation that we had a couple of months ago, because if that is true, then why do we need to hire a director of economic development? But I'll skip beyond that just for a moment to get to what I think was the points that were made a few moments ago. There's a reason why Google didn't say anything about Clay County, and I think there's a reason why Meta didn't make a big deal that anyone was there either, and that is because the tools necessary to bring them to their respective locations did not require them to come to us. And that's not the fault of having a staff member or not. It is just the simple reality that the tools necessary to bring them, the incentives necessary to bring them, were provided for by the very municipalities that we're talking about. And so, to me, simply having a director of economic development does not necessarily mean you bring much of anything when, in fact, those particular municipalities are out there doing things, and what's more, there are developers of properties out there doing things to get their properties ready for development. Let me use an example that we've talked about here before to illustrate where I think we're not, if we're really serious, we're not just talking about a director of economic development. We have talked many times before many of us came on, and even through our time here, about what an economic development driver of the airport that we have could be. But there's a problem. The way roads are configured and the space that we have available is not conducive to really any sort of development at this time. We've got a ravine, we've got a railroad track, and in between, we are not configured properly to bring in anything. And I would venture to say that along 92 Highway and other areas along 33, where I believe the land use plan suggests that we would have some sort of proper zoning, those areas aren't ready either. They require water mains, they require other roads, they require other investment to make them ready to be developed. And unless the developer, or excuse me, the landowner who owns those properties is ready to say, I'm ready to develop, but I need help, are we prepared to make that investment? I kind of doubt that, because that gets kind of pricey. And so I understand the desire to be recognized, but there must be a reason for that recognition. And unless we are prepared to go further in investment, staffing, joining the KCADC, joining the state of Missouri when they go out and they try to sell opportunities across the country and across the world, I wonder if we will suffer the same fate that happened 10 years ago when a prior commission decided it was a good idea to spend $162,000 to have someone head the Economic Development Alliance, which, to the earlier question, I can't think of a single thing that came as a result of that. We don't have here what a job description looks like. We don't have here what an economic development plan looks like. It is very difficult for me to say this is a good idea when those things are not present. And finally, I would just simply point out that, like many other counties with economic development agencies that they work with, they do contracts, and those contracts spell out what is expected for them to do. We can do what everybody else does. That seems to work for them. Finally, I will just blatantly say, I really don't care if Clay County EDC changes its bylaws. I don't care if they add a single person from this commission on anything. What I do care about is the work and the work that gets done. And as long as we know what work is to be done, I will then make the decision whether or not we need to give them money to do it. But it doesn't matter to me how many of us sit on their board, and it does not matter to me how many of us sit on their executive committee, because at the end of the day, if we're not doing things, whether we're on that board or not, whether we're on an executive board or not, that actually provides value for companies to want to come here, then it doesn't matter anyway. And I will throw in to the idea that option 2, that Damon, that you pointed out, to bring them in here, I think that's a great idea. If there is some scratching to be done, I would like to know where the itch is. And if that is something then that we can do, fantastic, love to do it. But until then, I am not on board. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, oh, excuse me, Lawson.
Okay. You know, to me, it wasn't the matter of how many people sat on the board. It was the matter of how it was handled. And the commitment. You make a commitment to somebody. If I tell you, I'm going to do this, you can take that to the bank. I'm going to do it, whatever it takes to get it done. And if someone makes a commitment to me, I would like to see it happen. Give me 6 months. Okay, I'll give you 6 months. It's been over a year, and we've never seen any action on that front. And we can never get an explanation why. It's little things like that that degrade the word of the EDC. I think that something should have happened by now. Either come back to us, and I wouldn't have had a problem with it if they said, look, we don't want to change our bylaws. This is the way it is, and we're going to leave it that way. I'd say, okay, thank you very much. At least we know where we stand. We've never gotten any kind of an answer, and that's okay. That's minor. That's no big deal. What is a big deal is that, yes, we do need people actively at the table and working. I can remember going to they used to have these big conferences. I went for Southwest Rebel. There were other companies that were there that were looking at moving their business somewhere. There were people from Kansas City and Johnson County and all over the place, all over those people, saying, we want you, come to us, and here's what we can give you. And then I'd work with them and say, here's where we've got fiber, here's where we've got this, what we've got that, to help entice them to that location. Well, it's the same thing here, I guess. Actions speak louder than words, and I've not seen a lot of action. Now, with the new change in management, maybe there'll be some new things that change. I guess I'd like to know, what are the major plans for the next year? What kind of programs are we going to develop to get out there and try to bring businesses into Clay County? How can the commission help? How can the cities help? You know, just a real concerted effort to go after businesses, make this a more successful county. And you're right, look at Liberty. My gosh, you know, however you agree with their upper management, they have done an exemplary job getting businesses in here. It's amazing. You can't drive down 152 or 291, you know, without a traffic jam, because there's so many people and so many businesses. Anything you need, you can get right around here. You know, it's the truth. So I'd like to see that more. That was done by the guys from Liberty. They have really stepped up to the plate and done a lot. I'd like to see that happening all over Clay County. And I'm not saying this is what we have to do. I'm saying let's investigate it. It's a great option. It's an option out there. Now, if somebody can change my mind, okay, that's fine. If we have some another option, the AEDC comes up with some great new programs, and they say, here's what we're going to do, changing everything around. You just haven't heard our plan yet. Okay, maybe that's all we needed, you know, but I'll kind of just wait, and I'm not against it, and I'm not for it. I'm right in the middle, just waiting for somebody to prove to me why one way or the other is the better. That's all. I think that's all we really all want, is to see, give us some options, and let's see what works for the best.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, thank you. So, first of all, like many of my colleagues up here, I actually ran on the idea of being more business-friendly and economic development here in the county. And I think it was mentioned, you know, talk is cheap. We want to see things happen. Not that nothing's been happening, but we want to just like to see something happen a little bit quicker, a little bit more. You know, talk with some of my colleagues, you know, particularly Commissioner Carpenter and Commissioner Withington on things like artificial intelligence and what's happening in that arena. You know, why can't Clay County be a little bit more on the cutting edge of that kind of stuff? And there's just different things out there right now. And so this is important, and whatever the tool is or the avenue is that we make it happen, the most important thing is that we find a way to make it happen. And I applaud Commissioner Withington for bringing this discussion item up. And it is a discussion item just to get some ideas and you know, what other options are out there. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering if you can, Commissioner Withington, I wonder if you can expound a little bit more on this concept of having a economic development director, you know, price first of all, but kind of what that position would look like, what they would do, just a little bit more information, not only for me, but for other people that are listening.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find the email here. So Scott and Jerry both keep bringing up the way the old commission did things. At no point did anybody ever did I even think about proposing creating a organization like the last one. The last commission, before Jerry in 2012, I believe it was, they tried to create a competing organization that competed in every single way, have its own board of directors, everything like that, with the KC or with the Clay County EDC. No, that was never crossed my mind, to create a completely competing organization. So Scott, that should take care of that for you. But basically what I was looking at was somebody that would target advanced manufacturing, biotech, logistics, stuff like those kind of career jobs. You know, you and John and I keep talking about AI and stuff like that. Try to work with other places to get projects shovel ready, and work on targeted industries, and then work to get federal and state incentives and everything like that. You know, we got those. Clay County has not gotten really any big mega projects other than Google and Facebook. But like you and I discussed, at the end of the day, those jobs, after you get rid of all the construction jobs, data centers don't employ a lot of people. We need to be looking at big manufacturing places like, you know, Panasonic out there in DeSoto, Kansas. You know, someplace like Ford that hires thousands of people. Data centers, after all the construction is done, you're only going to have a couple hundred people there. Like, you're not going to have that many people. So basically, I was looking at possibly just hiring somebody that could also look at, I know Joanne won't let me sell the airport, so that was, that was one, she won't let me sell the golf course either, but, or the marina. But if we'd sold those, we could fund maybe 1 or 2 years worth of this person's position. But look at how we can, you know, look at the airport for economic development and stuff like that. Because when they built it in the 80s, they said it was going to be a huge economic development tool, and it really hasn't done much. So, so that's what I was looking at, just hiring a single person, not creating a whole competing organization and trying to still bridge it to come get businesses to join our group versus the EDC's group or anything like that. But so that's what I was looking at. And, you know, when looking at the pay range, it was 95 to 120,000 is what a lot of them get paid. But yeah, just looking at advanced manufacturing, clean energy, biotech, and logistics was key targeted industries.
Do you have specific requirements of someone who'd fill that position?
Yeah, so looking here, so they would need to have a bachelor's degree in economic development, maybe an MBA, public policy, 5 years of experience in economic development, corporate and site selection, and with experience in site selection and corporate recruitment, and then have them be a certified economic development professional, a CECD. And then proven track record of securing state/federal grants and be able to show us a portfolio of projects they've been able to work on and secure.
I think it's worth discussing. You and I had discussions, and I don't know if you want to talk about it more here, but I've had several friends in the county who can't find employment, struggling to find employment here, and that's kind of all part of the economic development picture too. And I know you've talked with some people in the same boat. You expound a little bit on that, but I was wondering if you could touch on that a little bit more, how you think that might be impacted by this position.
Yeah, so we've lost our biggest employer, Cerner. Then if we lost Ford, we'd be screwed. Ford has the second highest. The Ford plant is the second highest tax Ford plant out of all the Ford plants. So if something were to ever happen, they account for about 30 to 50,000 ancillary jobs. But you're right. So 2 years ago, when I got laid off from Cerner, I couldn't find a job in Clay County. I got laid off from J.E. Dunn a few months ago. They made some layoffs in the IT department. There were several of us that got let go. And 2 years later, I still can't find a job in Clay County, And so, the EDC people keep talking about, we need Class A office space. Well, times are different, Half the office space in downtown Kansas City is already vacant. People aren't going back to the office. Some people are making them go to the office, but Class A office space isn't what we need. We need jobs, and Class A office space is going to take a while. We need to be looking at other ways than just Class A office space. I mean, if you look at Johnson County, Kansas, they started building theirs in the 70s and everything, and we need to be looking at what the next 20 years, what's going to be around the corner in 20 years, and that's advanced manufacturing, logistics, and biotech, and AI, and everything. So, I want to try to find somebody that has that kind of experience, bringing that can help bring those kind of projects to Clay County.
I think those are all very, very noble, very good ideas.
And like I said, I'm not married to this. That's why I want to bring up a discussion so we can all talk about it.
And I think it's good because I think we need to figure something out. The EDC has been mentioned several times. I struggle. Our EDC executive director's here, Mark. He's the third executive director since I've been on this commission for 2.5 years. And I've met with all three of them and expressed my concerns and the relationship that the commission has with the EDC and the strained relationship. It's been strained for a while, and the desire, and probably one of the big sticking points you talk about bylaws, is desire for us to have the option, the ability for us to choose the position that's on the executive board for the EDC, because some of us are on the general board, and those who go to the general board meetings often feel like it's a Chamber of Commerce, just another Chamber of Commerce meeting. It doesn't feel any different than that, and I don't feel like we're moving the ball down the field at all when it comes to economic development, at least not at our level, at the member level. And that's why, because we don't have the position I think we should have on that executive board, we don't have that relationship. That relationship has been strained for years. And I think that could fix that, but for whatever reason they don't want to. And like I said, it's been 3 executive directors. They've chosen not to respect our wishes on that, with nothing but an excuse that, hey, we don't want to change the bylaws. Well, you've had 2.5 years now to change those. So it's obviously they don't want that relationship. They don't value working with us like we would want to work with them. And I don't know why it's frustrating, but we got to figure something out. We got to figure out something. If they don't want to work with us, we got to figure out someone who does want to work with us, and how to make that happen for our citizens and for the county, because we can do better. And I think that's what it's all about. It's doing better. And whatever group that's with, or that person it's with, or whatever, we have to do something better. And I don't know if this is a solution or not, but it's certainly a good starting point to talk about. And I just appreciate you bringing that forward. And we'll just kind of see where it goes. I see more people waiting to talk.
Commissioner Wagner, I believe you're next.
Thank you. I want to make it clear that until tonight, I've not had a conversation with anybody about what has been brought forward here. So you will excuse me if I may make some wrong assumptions, but I will at least give my experience. $95,000 to $120,000 does not buy you what you want. It will not. The work that the EDC of Kansas City, for example, to cover 319 square miles, requires a group of at least 5 people. And that's just on the incentive side, not even on the land development. Liberty, I think, has at least 4, if I looked on their website and judged it correctly. Johnson County, who actually contracts, I believe, with their chamber, could be a little wrong on that, but what they do have is a 1/8 cent sales tax that was passed in 2008 to help go after some of the research biotech folks that may be wanting to come into there. And the reality also is that for the bigger projects that we want, it may require years. And again, I use the example of the airport. It is not configured. It is not a site that is ready. And I bring up these things to suggest I'm all for economic development. I am all for bringing more jobs here. I'm all for bringing jobs that will spur other job growth here. But if we're really serious about this, hiring a single director to do prospecting, working with the cities, and now with the conversation that I just heard, gets into workforce development. Workforce development, there are whole agencies that do workforce development. The Full Employment Council is up here in Clay County precisely to do that work, and they also go out for the grants for that particular piece of the puzzle. I am very concerned that we are simplifying because we aren't getting what we want collectively out of the Clay County EDC, that now we are going in a direction that is sorely underfunded for what I believe is being asked for and requested. And I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Can I just say, nothing to get, you don't need to get so defensive, Scott.
I'm not.
Okay, well, you just don't need, you seem like you're getting defensive, so this is why we're having a discussion, right? So, I mean, you don't discuss everything with me. I talk to John and Jay every day, so I just discussed this topic with them. So it's not, I don't want you to get defensive about it. It wasn't like anything like that, but you're right. I agree with you on the airport. That's why I've been saying for 3 years we should sell the damn thing, and get it off our hands.
I have to second what Commissioner Wagner said. I don't recall having a discussion. Maybe I'm spacing it. I don't recall having a discussion on this subject prior to.
Jerry,
maybe I've forgotten it, but
Jerry, I can't talk to the entire commission. That'd be polling the commission, right? So I talked to 1, 2 people. I didn't talk to 4.
I realize it's a closed circle, but I just am pointing out that, yeah, this is also, I am in the same position as Commissioner Wagner. Not drawing fault, not pointing fingers. I'm just saying it's, I see what I see from the written materials that are distributed, and I try to glean what I can from those. Commissioner Lawson, I believe you are next.
I don't think anybody should talk about things being done without full discussion of this commission, because I can start naming stuff that happened that way, but we won't get into that. Airport has water lines in front of it. There's a lot of land out there. When Jerry and I first met, before I was sworn in, one of the things he talked about very strongly was that that could be a corridor like they have down at, off of 110. I think it's
Animal health, are you talking about the animal health corridor? Animal health corridor, is that what you're referring to?
Down off of 210.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know
Please go
how
ahead. I just want to
They have all
help.
the different businesses down there,
Oh.
and, you know, they have all kinds of things. But anyway, that was an option that maybe we looked at developing that. Nothing has ever happened, and that's nobody's fault. It's just that we've had other things on our plates other than doing that. I think that there's a lot of places in this county that could be developed. But the bottom line here, with this person, were we to have that person should be working with our workforce people, like the one Bridget works with some others around here. I think that person does that. They do a lot of things, but at least we've been putting out $100,000 a year, not the last year, but we have in the past, and I think at one point more. And I don't see anything happening. So why keep throwing that money down that rat hole? And maybe that will clear itself and we can start using it again. We can work with them, with the new guy that's over it. But the bottom line is, I don't think that we put this option down and say that it's all that bad. If there's something online that says you can get someone qualified for this amount of money, and yeah, okay, so we made a mistake not going with the KCADC. I don't think it was a mistake, but nevertheless. Now we'd have somebody that would sit at their table, somebody that would get potential jobs that could be coming, buildings, new businesses, whatever. They could bring that and start working on it with the cities to try to develop something. I think just throwing it out as a bad idea is not good. I think we investigate it and we see what are the pluses, what are the minuses, listen to the EDC and what their presentation is and how they plan to go forward, and then we make a conscious decision which way is the best way to go. But I think we all should keep an open mind and not poo-poo it too quickly until we know what we're getting into. So it's just an idea is all he's brought forward, and I think it's a wonderful idea. We need to be thinking outside the box now and again. So I think we are very cautious before we say, oh, that's the worst idea you ever had. And listen and see what other options there are that we can go with.
I've had worse ideas.
You have. You've had better.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, first a couple of things. I know some commissioners feel like they've been out of the loop or haven't been up to speed on this. That's really what this is for. That's what this discussion is for. For those of you who don't know, we cannot talk. All of us can't talk about this topic behind the scenes. We have to talk about it openly. Mm-hmm. That's the sunshine law deal. That's why Commissioner Withington only talked about it with me and Commissioner Carpenter. So that's why we're having this discussion, to really vet this stuff out. But as far as Commissioner Wagner and his comments, I don't disagree with some of those things, and particularly when you talk about the price and what it costs to do something like this. Certainly that may be an underestimate, and maybe not even be the right way to go. But I'm not so interested in finding fault. I'm more interested in finding what solutions are there to move the ball down the field. And maybe I'll throw this back at Commissioner Withington or Commissioner Wagner, because I see you're next to speak anyway. But maybe when you speak, if you can throw in there, if you have any ideas yourself on what you think we should do as a commission to improve our economic development in the county. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them.
Very smooth segue. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. And let me just say, I'm not being defensive. It's just, if this is a discussion, hey, I'm throwing it out based on my experience. This is what I see as something we have to work through. So to your point, I just go back to, one, the issues that were brought up before when we spoke about the KCADC, and then just a reminder just of a couple of what I think are very important points. The objection, one of the primary objections that was given before was all these other municipalities are doing economic development and they are involved with the KCADC, and I don't mean to dwell on KCADC, but it's an example. They're doing this, why do we need to? And beyond just being part of the team, right? I think I will get to what I think was the reason why that point was brought up, and that is, what is it you want to sell? In Kansas City, Liberty, any other municipality, they have developers who have properties that they are wanting to market, and the cities that are participating with them have the incentives to provide. So if I were to kind of simplify, what do you see as what we would have to do to be successful in this? You have to have properties that are ready to go. You have to have incentives that you can provide. Now, we can provide a number of different incentives. The bigger issue to me is, what is it you're selling? What is ready? Because whether you are, and these are literal examples, the reason why there's a Dunkin' Donuts in Gladstone on North Antioch and not at Antioch Crossing is because when they needed to make a decision, Gladstone was ready, Antioch Crossing was not. When you look at Google, since we've talked about that at the Hunt Midwest site, Kansas City put the roads in. Hunt Midwest, through incentives, was able to put other infrastructure in, and so they had something to sell. Where I have misgivings is to create sites that are ready. That requires infrastructure. The permits are all there. You have to be shovel ready and ready to go. I am unaware of any such site that we have in unincorporated Clay County. So if you were to ask me, what do we need to do to be prepared? My first response is, I got to know what I'm selling. And I am unaware of what we are selling, and I'm unaware, and again, using the objection that was used before, what would we sell that would already not be sold by Kansas City, Liberty, and everybody else? What do we bring that is unique that only we can bring to the table that they cannot? And if it is something that is outside those jurisdictions, what is it that we are selling that is enticing enough for someone to say yes to it? So whether one were to say, let's go hire our own director of economic development, or let's go contract with the EDC, the problem remains the same for us, which is what sites. And I will say that, and Donna's, I don't think Donna's here tonight, I hit up Donna, I don't know how many times about the airport and asked her, well, why can't we do something? I think this would be a great place. I think we should think about more development here. And basically the answer was, well, I got to take care of this ravine. We don't own the property on the other side. And over here, I've got a railroad track. And the roads, how they currently come in, you can't put anything there. I just use that example to suggest, yes, we all know that it'd be great, but if the site is not ready, I have nothing to sell. And so, perhaps I seem a little overly negative, and I apologize for that. But I would say, if we're worried about our property, what we have purview over, and I cannot answer a question as what is ready to be sold. And maybe I'm wrong. It's been pointed out that I am many times, so. But this, to me, for this person to be successful, to do everything that is being requested of them to do, there are other things that either we have to make a commitment to that will cost additional dollars. We can decide yes or no. But I also don't want to set someone up to fail. And right now, I feel like if we say, yes, put this in the budget, without any idea of the other things that go into making that person successful, they will not be. And I would just as soon not put someone in that position. Hopefully that answers your question.
Do you have follow-up? Oh, sorry. Let me go back.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, just speak loud enough to, there you go. Oh, gone. I tell you what, technology is never my friend. Oh, no.
Here I am. Hello, everybody.
Just keep pushing buttons, Jerry.
Yeah, I appreciate
We'll
that.
get to you, Mr. Commissioner, in a moment.
I appreciate that. One thing about talking about county properties outside city limits that aren't maybe ready, you know, maybe the approach we take to that should be different. It's like, okay, if we're talking big companies coming in, what do you want there? Instead of, hey, this is what we have to offer, we've already set it up for you, you have to fit in this square. It's like, no, what do you want? You know, if a sports stadium wants to come here, you know, we don't have the infrastructure for a sports stadium anywhere in this county. The infrastructure is not already in place. That has to be put in place. And it's got to be very specific to a sports stadium, whatever sports stadium that is. I would think it could be the same thing for a business, whether it's a you know, some major business coming in, some major manufacturer, you know, a Chevy dealer, or a Chevy plant, I mean, you know, or something like that. It's okay. They don't want to fit into our box. It's like they got to start from scratch. We have some blank spaces out here. How can we work together to bring you guys here? And that's kind of what I think about what this position could do, and I could be way off on that, but that's kind of what I thought. Someone said, okay, these are the spots we have, this is what we can do in these areas, this is how far away it would be to tap into some water line or some power or whatever it is. But I don't know that we necessarily have to have, you have to have, okay, we got your sewer, we got your water, we got your electricity run right up to the curb for you, now just, pop on in here. I don't think we need that. I think if we're talking big, it's okay. We'll have to build a suite and to suit whatever company we're trying to bring in here. And I think there might be some opportunities for that. I don't know. I think there may be, but I think it needs to be explored. I think we need to think bigger than we have been in the past. That's really what I think. I think we need to think bigger. What else can we do? I think we've been just too narrow-minded on potential that we could bring to the county. And I don't know the solution to do that. And like I say, I think this is a good conversation to have, because what we're doing now I don't think is working as well as I think it could. And I always want to find a way to get to yes. And I don't know what that is, but I certainly love to have that we're having this conversation and figure out how we get to that. And I'd love to hear from the other, like was mentioned, the other EDCs and economic development folks in the other cities, as well as, I don't know if the EDC is going to talk tonight or not. Yeah, I'd just love to hear different options and see how we can move forward. That's really the big thing for me. Thanks.
Okay. Did you? Okay. I promise we'll get to you, Commissioner Carpenter.
Sorry, but it speaks, I think, to the point, and then I will hand this to someone else so I don't have the urge to hit it. I believe it is important for us to think bigger. I believe it is important for us to do that. What I want to introduce, though, is if we're going to think bigger about what we want to see, then we must think bigger about the competition that we are in. For the type of projects that I believe is being asked for, you are competing nationally. And and I'll just use the experience that I've had on some of these deals with the KCADC, because I've gone into some of those pitches. You are going up against, in some cases, well, countless numbers of competitors, right? And they are looking for something that they can move into right away, because the reason why they're having that conversation is they have scoured the country asking KCADC and its equivalent, which then KCADC goes and talks to the groups that are associated with it, and they're asking, you know, here's what they're looking for. They're looking for A, B, C, and D. Do you have A, B, C, and D? And you say, I do, and here it is. What I've never seen them do is respond to, I don't know if I have A, B, C, and D, but come talk to me, and maybe I do. And maybe I can throw in E to boot. That is a risk that, in my experience, has suggested you get crossed off the list, because they say, I'm looking for A, B, C, and D. And so when your competition is national or international in some respects, and they are telling you this is what we want, then to not give them what they're looking for creates risk that ultimately many times means they go to where they know they can provide that. My expectation for someone in this position is, should a request like that come, they're going to say, I have this, I have this, I have this. And it is a rarity when in the same region, someone says, I have exactly that, but they say, no, I'm going to go to the one that I don't know has exactly that, but maybe we can figure out something. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is a rarity. And if the idea is we want to attract and have a better opportunity to attract something, then waters and sewers and roads and things like that are important. And all it is to get to the property. Once you're in the property, then yeah, you can do, there's all sorts of things that may come. But if you can't say, I have what you need to the property line, that makes the job of this person harder. So I'll just leave it at that.
Just a quick response.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yes, go right ahead.
So if I'm hearing you right, then what you're saying is the way that we're set up in the county now, we're really not in a position for any economic development.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Please go right ahead.
What I'm saying, the unincorporated part of the county,
Right, yeah.
others within the county are.
Yeah.
And they prove that.
Yeah.
Now, you may say that I'm not quite getting what I'd like to see, and I can't speak to whether or not or as to why that may be, but what I do know is, one, we're not going to speak on behalf of another jurisdiction about the properties they have, because they know the properties they have. And then two, I don't know that we have, again, maybe there's a developer out there with property that I don't know about in the unincorporated part of the county, but unless it is ready for development and can compete with other sites that are ready to develop, then it's at a disadvantage. And so if we wish to compete, fine. But I just will introduce the notion that there is greater chance of success for that job to pull the sorts of things that I'm hearing is desired when you have properties that can compete, when they are ready to be built on.
But you're speaking specifically of the unincorporated parts of the county, which of course that's what we control.
Correct.
My bigger thought when I think of economic development is countywide, unincorporated or not. And certainly those incorporated cities, they control their cities, but there should be some way that we can help them as well, and that we can work together with them as well. I don't want to compete with with Kearney for a business that that we want in our unincorporated next door to them. It's like to me it's what's best for the county. I'm not when I see the county
Sure. No,
Everybody,
I
every
get it.
city involved. And so my thought is, how do we work with all of them?
Yeah.
For economic development, especially for the whole county.
Yeah.
I want a Trader Joe's here. My wife wants a Trader Joe's here. I don't care if it's in Liberty, in Kearney, in unincorporated Clay County. Let's just get Trader Joe's
Right.
here. How do we work together to do
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
So to that point, that is why the second option that has been brought forward by the administrator is the one I would prefer to pursue,
Yeah.
right? What is it that they want? How can we help them? I honestly don't know, but there may be an answer to that. And so for me, the outcome of this discussion is best served when we have that discussion. When they come forward and say, well, actually, county, you can help us with this, 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 and this. Fantastic. Then we can decide what is the best route to provide that. Is that something that we provide through our own staff member? Is that something that we contract the EDC to do as a condition of the funds that we would provide? At that point, that's a different conversation. Yeah. But I'm with you. To me, we should be in partnership. Yeah. We should provide assistance, but I'd like to know what that assistance really needs to be. I'm not convinced today that this is it until I hear from them.
When having talked with our county administrator as well, his idea of I think he called it a economic development summit of some sort, where you can bring all these entities together. I like that idea. I think that's great. And ask them, hey, how can we help? How can we partner with you? Because it's that partnership, I think, that we're lacking and that we need. And I think if we can do that, it's best for the county. And that's really what I want to see. And so I think that's an important key. I think having that meeting, having that summit, if you will, whatever we call it, I think that could go a long way as well.
Yeah, and to your point, if what they're saying speaks to this position, then I get it. And let's say, let's do it. But until that time, I've given you enough of my concerns and questions. I won't go on further. But I'd really like to know that.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Commissioner Carpenter, I'm sorry, you dropped off the board. Did you want to?
I thought that was... Thank you. I thought that was a fantastic discussion. And actually, that's in my earlier remarks, that's what I was trying to say, is I think we can hopefully extract something valuable out of the conversation here. I actually fully agree that's the next step that I would want to see taken. I'm not ready to move forward moving this idea into this year's budget. But it's, I think, a good, important conversation, and it's hopefully going to lead to that next step that you just mentioned. I also just want to very briefly demystify the who talked to who before. I'm happy to talk to anybody at any time. Very sincerely would love to, so please call, text anytime. Love talking about public policy stuff. It's just a thing that I'm interested in, so happy to do it anytime. And when I've talked with Commissioner Withington on this, only ever said a few things. One was, I see the value in the discussion itself. And I think that, to be honest, has sort of proven itself already. Two, I said, I know you're sincere in your desire to bring new jobs to this county. And I didn't mention it earlier, but part of which is from personal, experience in terms of the difficulty of finding a job here. And if that's true for one person, surely it's true for other residents of our county who would want to, not only live here, but work here too. And so I know he's sincere in that desire. And then three, what I said probably dozens of times, and I said it a few times to Director McAuliffe as well in our conversation, the thing I really want to see is for us to resolve this issue. I want us to figure it out. I want, what I said to Commissioner Withington and Director McAuliffe was, I want you guys to get together and hash out the differences, and let's solve this thing. Let's move forward. Let's figure out what is the best way forward for economic development in the county. That's the message I've delivered dozens of times at least, and I think that still is going to be the right next step. Let's bring in the cities. Let's talk to them. Let's see their opinion on the best way we can engage on economic development. But the bottom line thing that we all have to sort of commit to is like actually solving the thing and not just having. You mentioned a strained relationship earlier. Like, let's not do that for another 10 years. Like, let's figure this thing out. We can do it. It's not the most complicated thing. It's just the most effective, efficient way to do economic development between the county and the EDC and our cities. So I think if we all really try to do that, then we can probably move forward in a really positive way and look forward, like I said, to the the next step suggested. We'll get some good advice, hopefully from those municipal partners, and then hopefully right now from the Ricky, Bridget, and Mark. So, thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience, by the way. I did note that the members of the EDC staff are here. Would you folks like to add anything to our discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Make sure the mic is on, and there you go.
Got that first failure right out of the way. So, Mark McAuliffe, and not only am I a citizen of Clay County, proud citizen of Clay County, I also serve as the current executive director of Clay County EDC, as been noted. After 60 days, I'm glad to tell you I have all your answers. I think there's about 5 different ways I could approach tonight's discussion. One would be line item by line item of the packet that I reviewed and looked at. The other one would be to share with you the feedback from the chair, the board, and members of the KCADC, the feedback from the EDC pros from all our municipalities, and we could go back and forth in a variety of different directions on that. But what I would rather do is talk about why the hell I'm standing here to begin with, is this conversation. I met with many of you about running for commission, and my change of direction to pursue the Clay County Economic Development Executive Director position was to eliminate this discussion, first and foremost. So we are a member of KCADC. First thing I did when I got in here is I said, we got to have a seat at the table. And as we did, and as I talked to their board 2 weeks ago, and I spent last night with Bridget and I at a night at the K with KCADC, the question came up, not what's going on in Clay County for business development and growth and what's happening. The question was, what in the world is going on in Clay County? Is there one unifying voice? Is there one group that's focused on business attraction? Is there one group that's focused on business creation, business retention, and business enhancement and innovation? And that's what the Clay County EDC started to be in 1967. And since that time, some of the best ideas that have come into Clay County have been fostered out of great conversations. So I applaud you for having tonight's discussion. I applaud you for talking about what do we need to grow our county at the municipality level, at the unincorporated level for the future. What does that really look like, feel like, smell like, taste like? And that is a worthwhile discussion. When we think about economic growth, the first thing that comes to mind is location. Second is transportation. Third is communication. The fourth is workforce development, safety, security. Then it gets to business incentives. And the discussions I've been asked about are, what are we going to do about business incentives? We got to come up with bigger business incentives to get our name on the board. And that isn't the case. We talked about, are you ready? When opportunity knocks, it's too late to prepare. Class A office space was brought up. We didn't even get a chance to bid on a relocation of a worldwide corporate headquarters because they wanted immediate 85,000 square feet of Class A office space with an expansion of 160,000 square feet of office space, 2 possible labs and 500 jobs. Couldn't even respond to the request. The only shot we have sits in a campus that's vacant. So the problem is we can't do anything about it, or we can work with 2 entities to try to get a bid to purchase the dang thing and put it back in play. And that's what we're doing. We're working with the people of North Kansas City. We're working with 2 different developers that are looking for a couple different business partners, but they're prepared to make such an offer. So we do have to be prepared when opportunity knocks. We can't say, we'll build it if you come. That's not the competitive advantage. What our competitive advantage is we got a great community. We got a great school system. We've got infrastructure that if we were able to invest in it in a very strategic way, I think becomes even a greater advantage. So those are the conversations that we need to have going forward. We talked about, are you working with the municipalities? You know, Commissioner Lawson and Nolte were at one of the EDC Pro meetings, and we had one person there. Well, it helps if you don't schedule a meeting that conflicts with 4 other EDC professionals' meetings already. So once we found that, we moved it. And so they all came together and they said, it's about time we moved the meeting. It was a real simple solution. Didn't take very long. The real simple solution around getting a voice at the table of the KCADC is you join. Tim Cowden looked at me and he goes, man, I am so glad Clay County is here. And the message I told him, as I said, the commission and Clay County EDC will be unified. Come hell or high water. We are in this together, and we are an extension, should be an extension of one another, and I don't want to go back 10 years. I don't want to go back 5 years. I don't want to go back a year. What I want to do is start today about what we are doing and moving forward. Now, you all have mentioned and you brought up Bridget Mendoza, and I got Ricky Pierce. Ricky's taken over our loan operations. We've closed about $2 million worth of loans in the last 60 days, and we got another probably $7 million in the hopper for that. So small business owners that wanted to go from leasing to doubling their staffing to buying their own business to a coffee company looking to relocate to have multiple offices in there, we've got a multi-pronged approach about what we're doing, and that's what we need the support for so that we can add value at different levels. The other thing that you take a look at is if we're going to simplify and promote, we don't even have a good marketing strategy. We don't even have a sizzle reel that says why you should come. If you're a company interested, why should you come to Clay County? So the first thing I did is I called all the mayors, said, hey, I need 4 of you to say yes because we want to do phase 1. I'll do the introduction of why Clay County. We'll turn the ball over. Let me introduce you to some of our great communities and our leadership of those communities. You need to meet and understand what's going on in North Kansas City, Liberty, excuse me, Gladstone, throughout the entire county. All of them said yes. Then our videographer got called away for a documentary, so it's a little delayed, but all we're waiting for right now is to schedule the recordings. So then Commissioner Nolte and I are talking about, I didn't even know we had a Clay County tourism person. So I called Megan. Megan and I are talking, and I said, hey, we want to do the sizzle reel. She goes, me too. Here, let me send you some examples. This is what I'm talking about. So I asked myself, 1, how do I not know she exists? And 2, why aren't we collaborating to get stuff done? Because we aren't doing this. I've received documents from 2 years ago about what the problem was between the commission and EDC. Communication was number 1. I said, I'll come and meet with you guys. We've met one-on-one. I'll meet with you every month. You want to meet twice a month? I'll make it to where you don't invite that guy back. We can fix that problem. You want to know what the municipality EDCs want? They want us to have a unified voice so that they can say, this is what we're a part of. You need to come here. And if an interested business comes in across our desk, all I have the privilege of doing is, I got this option, man. Which one you want? Let me introduce you to option A, B, or C, because to your point, we don't have a good catalog of what's available from the developer standpoint. So Bridget and I were talking. We made a list of 19 developers. Let's start with number 1. If they're not going to come together as a group, we found that out. So guess what? We got 19 one-on-ones. We got a schedule. What are we doing, when are we doing it, how are we doing it? If I can't get on Oracle's campus, who has a building that's half full that we can say, hey, we could give you starter A, and we can escalate to B to meet your needs. At least get our foot in the door with a conversation versus, man, we don't have it. And then I find out at the ball game last night, we actually had a location that it would be very out of the box thinking. I mean, it'd have to be a very creative CEO. But we could possibly pull off a Hail Mary. But again, it only happens when people are talking. And I can't speak for what happened before, but you've got her commitment, you got his commitment, you got my commitment. We've re-energized board members that haven't been active for several years. They're excited about what's going on. I called 2 people when I needed to have KCADC money. Check written on spot. Man, you're right. What I love about what you're talking about is leadership, not control over stuff, not trying to dominate one thing or another. How do we become a collaborative voice? What is it we're doing and how are we going about it? So as we look at this, do we have a good message of why Clay County? Do we have a good message around what we have to offer? Not in a written pamphlet sitting on a side entry wallway in a chamber office. Something that's dynamic enough that they can click on, they can click through, and they can see. So we've got to come up with a grant, because what Bridget has done, and I keep saying Bridget, let's face it, when you've got an interim director, interim director, not a lot's going to change one way or another, and it's definitely not going to get approved for long-term until somebody like me comes in, so it defaults to one of your key players, Rockstar. I think we've got a heck of a team. And we got a lot of emotions around it, a lot of passion around it, and we have failed you all miserably by you not knowing what we're doing. Even in the last 60 days, the conversations we had when we first started, we've already changed 50 things. We're not even in the same offices as what we were. So whenever you talk about hiring somebody, if that's what you think is best for the county, then far out. I'm just telling you, I think it's redundant and it's confusing. I don't see it to be any good to go to a KCADC meeting. I introduce myself as Mark McAuliffe, Clay County Executive Director for the EDC. Step over here. Hey, I am the Executive Director for the Clay County Commission, Executive Director for Economic Development. It's confusing. And you would think I would say that because I'm in this spot. But I do what you think's best. By all means. I'm just sharing with you, I think if we can have a better investment of that asset to put it towards something else that we already have momentum around, we got membership around, and the municipality EDCs, what they want is a united voice, and they want a unified message to go at the state level to get the support they want there, to attract companies in, to do roadways, to do more activities around what they actually need. And they don't feel they've got that. That's one of our roles. We've got to become that, and each one of you has connections that can make that stronger, so we owe that to our cities, we owe it to our citizens and what we're going after. You know, we talked about a couple of things around data centers. DeSoto's already running into power problems. They've already stopped the development in that area for part 2. You take a look at the data centers that we have, now part of the requirements are they got to bring their own power. So now the discussion's around if we don't have enough generators to power what Google wants, which would take up the square footage of North Kansas City, now they got to come up with a different solution. So you got small nuclear power plants the size of football fields, but now you don't have enough water to cool it. So there's multiple factors down this that does take some very much a strategic effort. And I've got some nuclear engineers that are best friends, and civil engineers and engineering companies and architectural companies that have now joined as members because they want to talk about this and have input in what that possible solution might look like. And those are the roundtables we've got to foster more of. The EDC role of 1967, 87, 97, 07, 17, or even 2022 is not the same. The goal of more jobs, higher paying jobs, better educated workforce, should be very much in alignment. But how we do that matters. We talked about development in the unincorporated area, 587, which is now Pioneer Crossing. Everybody goes, well, that's dead, you missed out on it. There's 3 more corners to that intersection, if we're not mistaken. We got 3 more shots to revolutionize and breathe life into what that might look like. So I'm not done with 587. Pioneer Crossing is Pioneer Crossing deal, and we're going to fan the flames of that for the right development to take place there too. Whatever Roxanne needs, we're going to try to help. How do we get in line with Google is, if we weren't at the table to start with, the second best thing is to get to the table now. So we're meeting with Port KC, meeting with John, meeting with Joe next week. hey, how do we get into this and make sure that if we can do something that makes sure that phase 1, 2, or 3 of this thing happens quicker, faster, better, and we hire people sooner. And oh, by the way, if there are 350 jobs, what else do you need that we can also provide some help on? That's a discussion that we have to have. And then last but not least, when we think about what's new and innovative, I mean, I'll be at the Governor's Summit, bless you, in 2 weeks, to where we have more conversations around this. When we take a look at what leadership looks like, Monday and Tuesday, I'll be meeting with John Maxwell, and if you don't know who John Maxwell is, he's #1 leadership guru alive. I'll be meeting with John and his CEO in Orlando Monday, Tuesday, to talk about the first Maxwell Leadership Center at a city or organized level to be housed right here. It may not come to fruition. What does it do? What does it doesn't do? It's all about leadership at all levels. From high school, 8th grade, starting up through their senior year, to entrepreneurship, to executive leadership, executive coaching, and what that can look like so that we're educating and retaining the employees that they have to raise the lid of their internal growth. Last but not least is what is the education around retention so that as many small businesses we have right now, many owners are reaching the age that there's no exit strategy. There's no succession plan. They don't even understand how to evaluate their company. So one of the things we'll put together is that. And last but not least, we talked about the Economic Summit, is Live to Lead is a program that we put on through Maxwell Leadership. I've been a founding partner, faculty member of John since 2011. We've gone into gone into foreign countries. We've got 22 more that want us to come in. And we talk about what leadership looks like on effective leadership of not talking about it, but getting things done. And those are the conversations I look forward to happening moving forward. So if you choose to go through this person and if you hire them, we will do everything we can to make sure that our working relationship is fantastic. If you were to ask my opinion, which you haven't, but I'm gonna give it anyway, and it's worth the price you paid for it, but I would much rather us stop going backwards and move forwards and take some of that investment, put it back towards some very strategic initiatives, of which we'll define tomorrow afternoon from 2 to 4. Have my first little task force of reevaluating our strategic plan and the goals for the next 6 and 12 months. I'll get back to you on what we decide they are. Our board meeting will be the first time we talk about it. The second time will be on a one-on-one basis because we're gonna need some help to pull this off. This small thinking has to stop. It has to be very strategic, it has to be very aligned, and it has to include each of the municipalities, and that has to include what's going on in Platte City, because if they don't choose us, I'd love for them to choose Platte. I'd love for it to be in the Northland whenever possible. And what does that look like? Royals, do they come or do they not come? Who knows? But we're not waiting for that decision to be made. We're already putting together what's the education packet going to have to look like if we have to try to get key business owners of our membership, of our leadership, to go out and start making presentations at every civic organization, anybody that'll listen. What's the facts versus the myth? What's the real impact? What isn't it? Now, we don't know what that might look like now because we haven't been part of that negotiation, but we know what Jackson's was. We know what happened in the Battery. We know what happened at Wrigley. We know what happened in Louisville. We know what happened in Denver, and we know what, excuse me, could happen here. So there's some large assumptions, but they're pretty good foundational pieces to build off of as we go forward. So we've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of things that we need your help with. And we hope we can get to that point. And I could go on for another hour. I want to be mindful of our time, but I appreciate the opportunity just to express a few things that I don't know that's going to influence one way or another, but we're not sitting around right now. It's time to kick things in high gear, and I look forward to many more good conversations and hopefully good results. So appreciate the time.
If you just hold on a moment,
Yeah.
Commissioner Lawson, did you have something you'd like to say?
Questions? So did you say you were doing a fall summit?
We don't know if it's going to be fall or at the beginning of the year. The intention was to do it in the fall. We've kicked back the look northwards to October, And then we have the Keystones the first week in December. So we were trying to find a time that didn't, the problem we have is conflicting dates with the other chambers. That's like I just got a call from Rich yesterday, who's a little passionate in the call. But we had booked the Keystone Awards for December 4th at Harrah's. He also has an event that they normally hold the first Thursday of the month at Harrah's. So we're crossing over.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to find a date that doesn't upset another chamber. We had to move, what did we move? We moved the Look North Award twice because it conflicted with Gladstone's luncheon same day, so we had to move it and things of that nature. But yes, we're planning on doing it, but if we can't find the date, we'll probably move it to January.
Okay. What do you think your number one, if you have goals, and I realize that, but what do you think your number one priority is with your program that you're getting, you know, everything you're going to be doing? What's the number one thing in your mind that you want to get started on?
Yeah, the number one thing is rebuilding trust.
What?
Rebuilding trust.
Good. And?
I mean, that's the foundational piece of it, number one. Number two is there has to be a focused plan of what our development opportunities are or aren't. What's the messaging? And that's why we joined KCADC. They've got enough resources that we're going to benefit from. There's no reason for us to re-spend money. It's the best $10,000 we can invest.
Yeah.
They've got 7 people working nationwide.
Right. Now,
That's free recruitment labor. So strategizing that, having a very clear message, having a very clear development plan, what that looks like going forward for business specific. We got other priorities, but since you asked about the business side, that would be the number one thing we have to evaluate and start to execute against.
Okay. Now, you are now a member, a full-fledged member of KCADC?
Correct.
Okay. They're paid and all that stuff, and they're ready to
They just sent
start.
us the invoice. We got to
Pardon?
write. I have the money. We haven't written the check. We just got the invoice.
Oh, okay. And then
We
they
were
will...
welcomed and onboarded. How about that?
They're what?
We were welcomed and onboarded.
Oh, okay. All right. You just got to pay them.
Yeah.
Money.
Checks in the mail.
Money talks. And then, so I agree with you on the building of trust. I think that's something that is very lacking at this point.
Sure.
And that's not all your fault, you know.
It is what it is.
So I appreciate that. And then the second thing you think you'd like to see get started for all the members. What would you like to do next?
Well, for all the members, you've got, I mean, there's multiple events, there's initiatives, there's things that you can look at that, but for our members is really having roundtables activities. I mean, our Diamond members need a quarterly roundtable with me and the staff. So we've got to start treating and honoring those commitments that we've made to our members and scheduling that in and making the time for it. The other thing is that understanding what their needs, wants, desires are no differently than the EDC because they are our members. So this is an integrated piece with that as well.
Right.
And then as you take a look at our membership of what they're doing, when you start sharing a better vision, you know, without a vision, people perish. And that we have not shared a great vision, I don't think. So them understanding, you all understanding where we're going is that priority for them. And then executing against it. What are their growth opportunities? What do they need for their workforce development? Workforce development is probably one of the toughest, most complicated and needed areas for them at all levels.
Yeah.
You know, when you take a look at success and collaboration, when the Workforce Development Center came about, I'll give Kirk Davis his credit, he goes, we have to get involved in this somehow, some way. What do we have available?
Yeah, you're
Like
right.
everything we had, right? So I said, Bridget,
I'm
would you
glad
like to
that-
do this? Of course, my
Yeah.
power word for her is no, but she likes to say yes, and she's dang good at everything she puts her mind to. So freed up hours out of the schedule she was working us to dedicate hours there, and then she added more whenever she started to help them fundraise and do things. But you take a look at Platte County, the Clay EDC, and you take a look at Brian Nollers on that, those three, a year ago, when they presented at the State of the Cities, I gotta be honest with you, I was like, there is no way in the world they're breaking ground a year from now. No way. And 23 million comes out of the woodwork. This comes in, and it's not out of the ahas, but it's out of hard work. So clarifying, and I would give you a more specific answer, but I haven't had my meeting until tomorrow between 2 and 4, and then I'll tell you what the 5 key specific ones that we've agreed upon. I know what I would like to see. But
And
we
what's
haven't.
that?
Well, we're not ready to share that yet.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about it tomorrow because my 5 may be different than what we decide as a collective leadership entity, so.
I will tell you that as we go to the board meetings, when I come out of that board meeting, and this is not your fault, but yeah. But when I come out of those board meetings, I feel like I've wasted my morning, you know? And there's never, I want to hear somebody say, we've got 3 new locations that we're looking at. Maybe they're small businesses. Who cares? You know, businesses add up. They don't all have to be Google.
Yeah.
But
The compounding effect is
I want to
pretty
hear
good.
about the potential businesses, or
Yeah.
I want to hear about, here's a plan we got. We're going to do this with the cities. We're all going to sit down and they're going to tell us what they're looking for, you know, that kind of thing. That's what I want to walk away then with, some kind of a plan
Yeah.
and looking towards the future. I've never seen that. The biggest plan that I heard about was we need to have more socials so everybody gets to know each other better. Well, I don't have to know Jay any better than I know him now, you know, or Jason. You know, the whole thing we're trying to do is drive everything forward, and I don't see that happening. So,
Yeah.
thus, this is why this all came to be.
Sure.
So, I can tell you right now, in looking at all of this, I want to see a plan. I want to see, like you're talking about, sit down with the cities. Talk to the cities. What's the most important thing to you? What have you got available for somebody to move into? Because it isn't just about the unincorporated area. As a commission,
Sure.
we represent the whole darn county.
Absolutely.
So we want to, and you do too. So those are the kinds of things I want to see. What do you feel like you've accomplished in your first 60 days?
Well, I've got a clear understanding based upon the feedback of what we shouldn't do. I understand what we haven't done, and I understand the request to fix things. I understand that there's some communication that had to be improved. I understand that our alignment may or may not have been what people thought it was due to communication or lack thereof. I understand that we have not been as present at the levels that we need to, as expressed by KCADC and the welcoming they gave back. I mean, Tim Cowden, he was just sitting there, he goes, I can't tell you enough what it means that Clay County is back a part of this. He goes, we can't do what we're supposed to do in Kansas City without Clay County being a significant role player in this. So thank you. And I said, well, we're part of Kansas City. We want to be here. If we're going to accomplish what it is, we have to work together.
Yeah.
So that's what I would love to calm the noise down. I'm not a good politically correct talker. I just kind of, it is what it is. I have learned in the 60 days that what things appear can be important to other people. The way they're perceived is important to other people. And if I'm driving a Ferrari, or it looks like a Ferrari, but it's got a Volkswagen engine in it, it really doesn't matter what it looks like. And we don't get what we want, we get what we are. Law magnetism, straight out of 21 Irrefutable Laws Leadership. And who we are and what we do speaks louder than what we say. You said, I've heard a lot of talk, I haven't heard a lot of actions. Fair enough. I will tell you that there has been a ton of activity. We've just done a poor job of sharing what the activity is. You know, we moved offices. They go, why'd you move offices? Well, we could save money. I can do my job with a cell phone, a cup of coffee, and my front seat of my car. So what is the main thing and what needs to be important is understanding the need, getting real clear and focusing what it is, analyze it, see what solutions could possibly be, develop the action plan and execute it. I mean, it's really simple. I mean, there's 4 steps to problem solving. Problem solving is one of the 3 keys of trust. Either you're competent, you care for people, and you can solve problems. And as a Clay County EDC, we're focused on all 3 of those. How we treat each other in this room, how we treat each other at staff. Damon and I, we finally got to have a conversation as he was driving because he's got more time on his hands. No, I'm kidding. You don't have more time on your hands. But that's the only time we could get. But I'm just recreating stuff that many of you probably just take for granted. The 60 days of being in it is, I've got a great 2-member team. I could use 10. And we still wouldn't have enough. The need of what we need to do is greater than the resources we have. But that doesn't mean we just stop and throw in the towel. It's, let's make a list of what it is and start taking action today. What's one thing we can do in the next 10 minutes? What's one phone call? What's one thing I don't understand that we need Jeff City to be really loud and clear about? Cold Solutions grand opening next Monday. We still haven't helped them solve their problem. Everybody I think here has probably been there. We still don't have that problem solved. One of the most creative and innovative pieces of business right there. We got to help them solve a problem. I don't know how long it's going to take. But if we haven't made a phone call this week about it, we're not moving the ball forward anymore. So keeping the main thing, I think, Joanne, if I were to come full circle, is we've got more than enough stuff to do. And tomorrow afternoon, it's about the main key priorities of what that looks like. And my priorities may not be Bridget's priorities, and they may not be Ricky's, but collaboratively and collectively, we'll define what that is, and we're going to execute the first 3 and go to the next 3.
And then share it with everybody, right?
Well, I mean, you should be getting updates one way or another,
Okay.
and I'd prefer it not be an email. I'd prefer us having a conversation. I would prefer us not to have 7 different individual conversations, but this is, we have to be a partnership and an extension of one another. You don't need somebody that's sitting on your staff to attend the same things we're attending. We want to hire a consultant that's an out-of-the-box strategic engineer on infrastructure or design capabilities or what needs to be done. That is way beyond my skill set. I'd applaud that all day long. But again, my opinion, I think you've got a resource that if we cooperate and we communicate, I think it's going to solve a lot of your stuff. And then push back. That's okay. You all don't have any problem pushing back. I know that.
Yeah.
But that's the dialogue we have to have.
Yeah. And last thing I want to ask you, and be very frank with me on
Yeah.
this. I don't know. I don't pussyfoot around anything.
Sure.
So, as you know.
I appreciate that.
Right now, you have a very successful business away from EDC.
Mm-hmm.
Are you continuing on with your business?
I have a select group of clients that I have contracts obligations to continue to have.
All right. So how does that impact, I think about like Jason, working for Cerner and trying to be a commissioner. The guy was killing himself trying to run down here and be here on time for the for the meeting, or John doing his job and then trying to still, do what he needed to do for the county. It is extremely difficult. So I just wondered, how are you going to be able to focus on the EDC and give them the 8 hours a day that you need to give them and to do all the things you're talking about doing and still run a successful business?
Well, I don't have the capacity to do what I did full-time in my own entity. I'm lucky enough that I charge a nice amount of money for what I do. If it was 8 hours that we're worried about, I got no problem. 8 hours would be a break. Yesterday we started it. So I started with my first client, and we're way off topic here. I started with my first client at 4:30 yesterday morning.
Good. Yeah.
My wife's happy that I'm not home all the time. So I was officing out of home. She's like, You don't have to travel anymore, but I don't have to see you all day. So I appreciate the concern, and we approached that in the interview. I laid out what my schedule was. I laid out what my work day looks like. Been very transparent in any and all of that. Now, I'm not taking new clients on. I may have to replace one at some point in time, but not in the foreseeable future. So work is not a problem. Focusing on what needs to get done, not a problem. It's like any entrepreneur, you can handle 3 or 4 things at once, and you have to prioritize, and you make sacrifices, and away you go. So 12 hours a day is not a big issue, and if you got a great team, you got some flexibility on getting stuff done too.
Okay. Well, the last thing I will say to you is that if you haven't already, and it sounds like you've already found out, Ricky does a great job.
Absolutely.
And Bridget is, to me and to the majority of the people in Clay County, up until now, she has been the face of the EDC. She's everywhere she needs to be. There's not, you go to a big meeting with a lot of our state officials there, or other commissioners from other counties. The first thing they're all doing, Bridget, running over and giving her a hug. She knows them all.
Yeah.
They trust her. And I think she's one of the greatest assets that your EDC organization has.
Yeah.
So I hope you value that as much as we value what she does.
Yeah, she's a competitive advantage, which is why I would say that alone would supersede your need to hire anybody on your own.
No.
Because so when somebody asked me last night, do you want us to take a picture? And I said, yeah. I said, two-thirds of the team is here. Ricky wasn't with us, but Bridget and I were. This is a we component. The I is on the failures. The I is on the accountability side. But this is a team. And I hope to be here in 6 months, and it would be triple if we could get it that far. It won't be, but wouldn't it be great if we were so busy that we had triple? So that's what I look forward to.
Well, I thank you very much for coming.
You bet. My pleasure.
Commissioner Withington?
Hey, thank you for coming, and thank you, Bridget and Ricky, for coming as well. You and I have met 2 or 3 times now, and I appreciate you taking the time, and I've met with several of your other board members and everything. So I can't remember if it was John or Jay, but one of them mentioned that when we're on the general board, we really don't have much of a say, but also on the general board, we don't really get a lot of, detailed information. It's just high level. And then you had mentioned that you want to improve communication with us and that we should be getting information. So I don't want to dwell on it because I've also told you, that I want to have a working relationship with you guys. Bridget's and I become friends, and she's great. When you wanted to run for commissioner, you picked up the phone and you called me, and I told you, you and I had a good conversation. The problem, though, is we don't get information, and we have asked that if we're going to invest $100,000 into the EDC, that we want to pick who our executive board member is because it's a non-voting position, but that's where the decisions are made, and our current representative on the executive board does not share anything with us. And we have made that in this room several times over the last 3 years. And every single executive director has told us that that board member can share all the information with us that they want. That board member still chooses not to share information with us, whether it's because he wants to make sure we're not in the loop or what. So my question to you is, when we met, you had mentioned that you guys were reviewing your bylaws. Mm-hmm. Is this going to be changed to where we can pick who our executive board member is?
I don't know what the final outcome of that is. It hasn't been approved by the executive committee yet. It will go before the full board, I believe, in September, and we'll be able to announce that at that point in time. Right now, I don't have a vote, so I don't know what the final outcome of that's going to look like yet.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. First, Mark, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate the energy you bring. I appreciate the energy you bring to your new position. You and I met when you first came on board, you know, a couple months ago, and I think we talked about an hour and a half or so. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be a quick meeting, but we ended up talking for a while, and I appreciated that too. And I'm excited about potential for you and what you could do here, but obviously there's issues that go back way before you that you inherit, and unfortunately you inherit things. And,
Sure.
And Jason touched on one of the issues that we've talked about in detail. You know, you brought up transparency or trust and communication, and transparency goes along with that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, trust needs to be built, communication, transparency, all those things. You know, we the county, we were the EDC's biggest supporter financially, by a long shot, and that went away a couple years ago. It went away because of trust issues. Again, this is long before you,
Sure.
but you know the background.
It is what it is.
I know you've met with several of us in the division. We tell you that there's trust issues there, and the biggest trust issues is because it's because we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on, and you know, $100,000. I think it's been more than $100,000 in the past. It's like, okay, we're giving you this money. Where's it going? And to find out, we have to have someone from the executive board come to our meetings and explain this to us. And very simply, we just want a representative on your executive board that can share the information with us here. And we talked about that amongst us. Your bylaws right now, and your bylaws were created, obviously long before you, but your bylaws were created when we had a 3-member commission. And your bylaws state that the presiding commissioner will sit on the executive board, and the remaining commissioners will sit on your general membership board. That means all 6 of us technically are on the general membership board. So your bylaws are obviously outdated, because not all 6 of us are going to sit on that board. So they need to be fixed anyways. But the same, we took a vote here, it was a 5-to-1 vote, asking you guys, and this was, I think, 2 executive directors ago, hey, can you just address this issue? Don't try and control, we don't want to try and control the EDC. We want to communicate and have input with the EDC. Again, it's a non-voting position.
Sure.
But we feel like, hey, don't try and control us either. Let us pick who we think is the best person for that position, the best liaison, that we can give input to, that we know will get to the board, and vice versa, that will come back to us and we know, hey, you know what, we got a cheerleader for the EDC coming back to us and knows, hey, this is what the EDC is doing. This is why I think we should continue funding them, or maybe fund them more. That's what I would like to see. And it's an easy fix to me. But it's not getting fixed for whatever reason. And nobody can tell us why. Nobody on the executive board will tell us why. None of the past executive directors will tell us why. You're stuck with trying to deal with it now, and,
Sure.
and I know you've been talking with the board as well and hope it's a solution. But it's just, when it comes to trust issues and transparency, that's a big issue. We don't know. We just don't know what's going on, the unknown. And 3 of us sit on the general board, but like was mentioned, the folks that sat on the general board before just stopped showing up because they didn't feel like they was getting much out of it. And Joanne would mention the same thing tonight, or Commissioner Lawson, the same thing tonight, that she feels like it's a waste of her morning to go to that thing. We don't want to feel that way, and we want to feel like we understand a little bit more what's going on. I think obviously you know where I'm going with this, and we keep talking about the bylaws being changed. Is there any reason why it's stuck at the executive level apparently? It's been stuck at the executive level for 2 years now. Is there any reason why just a general board member can't make a motion to change your bylaws?
Well, there's a review team, there's a bylaw committee that met. We had to remove mail-in balloting. We had to remove all-inclusive language. We had to omit a ton of stuff. So literally, they rewrote the bylaws. So I can't speak to what happened 2 years ago.
Right.
I have no clue. I can share with you, since my involvement, that there's been probably 8 different revisions and discussions about the entire bylaw package.
Yeah.
And so that has to go through its process. Committee approves to take it to the entire board. The board is actually the ones that approves it.
Right.
So that is scheduled to happen in September. So
Yeah, but so that's a lot of cleanup that you guys are doing for years. All that we care about that would fix that whole issue with transparency and trust for us is one line. It would take about 2 minutes to change, and it's an up or down vote from the membership. What would stop someone with a membership from saying, hey, you know what? I move that we change this sentence to this. Is there anything in the bylaws that would that prevent that from happening? I'm kind of putting you on the spot right now.
There's 3 different documents to go through.
Yeah.
Jay, so in full transparency,
Yeah.
there's a committee working on this, and
Right.
I don't have a vote. So my issue is a much greater one than this. Right now, there's 4 of you on the board. Hell, you got a quorum between the general board and the executive committee. If you're not communicating against each other, hell, I can't solve that.
Well, that's
Wait, let me finish. And I know what your request is, and it seems very simple and very, very straightforward. So as we go back and we have the discussion, what other thing do we need to be that's straightforward on the bylaws? So line by line, that's what they've been going through. So whether or not it addresses your issue, it is being addressed. It just isn't finalized yet. And as soon as it's recommended that it is, you'll know.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to hide anything back on it. But I can't tell you today because it hasn't been approved and it hasn't been finalized. I mean, we're finding typos and all that other crap that goes along with it. But it is being addressed, I can tell you that, and it will go before the board and it will be reviewed and we'll know an answer here in the next few weeks.
So that's coming up for the general board in a couple of weeks?
That's the plan.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
Unless something changes, but that's the plan as of today.
Yeah, okay, I'd be real curious to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, again, thanks, Mark. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope you don't interpret these conversations tonight as any kind of a, how do I say this? Of a judgment of you personally, because it's not. You've been here 60 days, whatever it's been. It has nothing to do with you personally.
Yeah.
It's economic development throughout the county. It's issues that we've had for at least a couple of years now, if not longer, that we just want to see addressed, and we're trying to figure out ways to do that.
Sure.
Not what's best for any of us individually, but what's best for the county. And that's really what we're trying to do, and we're trying to, we want that relationship with all the economic development, folks all around in the county. And certainly would like to have it with the EDC, with the Clay County EDC. But so I just want to say thank you for being here, and just know that these discussions isn't because, hey, we don't like Mark or we don't like what Mark's doing. That has nothing to do with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think you know me a little bit in our discussions. I'm a passionate person.
Yeah.
I'm not going half in on anything. So do I take this personally? You bet I do. I've invested my time. I've invested my life, just as you all have, about this topic. Each day, one of our main goals is to wake up, how are we making Clay County better? How are we serving our members? And how do we serve the future of Clay County? There's a big map that we finally got of Clay County that goes on my office wall.
Yeah.
As soon as my wife helps me paint it. But it's going up there to keep the main thing the main thing. How do we make that picture better? So I do take it personal. I absolutely do. Bridget takes it personal. Ricky takes it personal. Because they're doing stuff and you don't know it.
Right.
And Bridget probably is bleeding from the gums from wanting to say something while I've been talking. So we do take it personally. And I understand exactly where you're coming from, but I'm not going to lie to you to say that we don't take it personally.
No, and you hit the nail on the head. You're doing stuff, and we don't know it.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for that.
And
we should know everything you're doing.
Regardless, I'll put it this way. Regardless what happens bylaw-wise, I'm committing to fix it because you got me.
I appreciate that.
So that's what I was going to say.
Right. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Ben. Commissioner?
I see no other commissioners wishing to be recognized, so I think that we've had a very good discussion. I think we've gone through an awful lot of stuff here. I don't sense there is necessarily instruction to give to staff at this moment, because I think it was just a matter of covering the subject matter and raising some issues. So if that is pretty much what everyone thinks, then we will just go ahead and close this discussion. That brings us to the county administrator comments. Mr. Administrator.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Withington, did you have something to add?
I was just going to say the time to Wayne put fries in bags. So,
That's a very colorful metaphor, and I take your point. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, we have the KCTA ribbon cutting tomorrow at 3 p.m. At the facility. It was just damaged by the tornado about, was a year and a half ago, and rebuilt. We also have the Park Summer Splash Bash from 9 to 2 p.m. on Saturday at Paradise Point Marina. And we also have the Casey Career Center groundbreaking, which Ms. Mendoza is very aware of, on the 27th at 8:30 a.m. for the commission. And that'd be it for me this evening as well. We have another meeting next week, the 28th, right before Labor Day.
Thank you very much. That brings us to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Carpenter, we'll start with you. You looked as though you were just ready to say something profound.
I'm not sure I've got enough, but thank you. No comments from, thanks.
Commissioner Thompson.
I'll just chime in real quick. This week, a lot of our Clay County schools, our kiddos, all went back to school. So I want to hope they all had great first days. My little guy had his first day yesterday, as I'm sure many of you did, as we packed their little lunches and folded their little clothes and stuck them back into the school system to our wonderful teachers. We're going to educate them and make them great citizens and give us a little rest. So hopefully you'll see me a little bit more around. But hope everybody has a great school year, and that's all I got. We're going to leave it with that.
Very good. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Wagner, Commissioner Lawson, Commissioner Withington, proceed.
I know I wasn't here last week, so happy belated birthday, Damon. I know I sent you an email, but want to say it face to face. And I know I said it to you, Kevin, but really is good having you back, man. Appreciate you.
Well, as we did have a long and I think fruitful discussion, I am going to just leave it at that. We are adjourned. Thank you.